Okay, and thank you. So I want to welcome India Celeste. India is the founder and publisher of stress management site. It's called MadamUplift.com and an active volunteer advocate for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. She became a certified suicide interventionist by Curtin University after the suicide of a younger relative in August of 2020. She is currently enrolled with the National Academy of Sports Medicine to design fitness programs that target stress. Today, she'll be talking about this part is about you. Welcome, India. Everybody give India a great big welcome in the chat box.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I am super duper excited to be here with you guys. This is very important to me, not only as someone just to speak to the community, but again, I have experienced personal loss, not only through suicide, but other, just random death and things that occurred over the last 2 years that could really build up stress, which is what was the catalyst to doing what I do now. I'm going to test my screen share really quick just to see if it will work with you guys to, let me see, it's going to let me do it. Share. And are you guys seeing my screen?
We are.
I don't have the chat up, so I hope you can see it.
Yes,
Okay.
we can see you here, India.
Perfect. Okay, great. So I kind of made some slides just to kind of, because what I'm going to talk about is combining the emotion and the science with what everyone goes through with grief and stress. And so it'd probably be easier to talk that way for you guys. So I'm going to put it on screen share just for some of the important sections. And then we'll get started. All right, let's see here. If I can move this little thing out the way. Give me one moment. Slides. Let me get that open up for you. There we go. So I'm going to be talking a lot about helping yourself when you're going through stress and grief, not just if there was a suicide, but also if you just experience like a random loss. For me, it's a big deal because I was a student at Virginia Tech in 2007 when the large shooting occurred that killed several of my classmates. I had a cousin who died by suicide after he shot his wife, and they were both found by their young children. And I've been a store manager who's had employees dealing with domestic violence that affected their work. I'm a parent who had my daughter's young animal pass away from a undetected infection, which was very hard to deal with. And then earlier this year, also unexpectedly lost my father. So there's a lot of reasons that it's important to make sure that you stay recentered when you're grieving and dealing with loss. And I'm going to want you guys to keep in mind two important topics while I go through this. The first one is homeostasis. And that is a concept in science where the body is always striving to stay at equilibrium. So our bodies, both physically and mentally, are always fighting to stay balanced. So keep in mind as I go through this that everything is going to be a cycle. The other thing that I want you to keep in mind as I go through this is the first law of thermodynamics, which is that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. And I will go through why that's very important as we proceed. So, one important thing that I want to stress to everyone here, thank you guys for coming. Thank you for taking the time to do the work. I want everyone to realize when they leave here, just like Peggy said, and just like Alan said, you do not have to choose whether to grieve or whether to move on with your life. You are going to be doing both for a very long time, if not forever. So the key here is to learn how to have the two coexist without completely giving up your identity due to the anger that someone else is gone, or due to the sadness that you couldn't stop it, or to just the lack of energy from trying to overcome your feelings. So if you don't leave with anything else, leave with that you're going to be grieving for a very long time, and you do not have to choose whether to grieve or feel guilt over creating happiness in your life. A very important model that has helped me through cognitive behavioral therapy. And just so you guys know, I will have all of my resources available for you at the end of my talk by email. So I will put that up for you if you want to do further research. But an important model that has helped me is the ABC model by Albert Ellis. And Albert Ellis basically created the techniques we use today of cognitive behavioral therapy. And what the ABC model does is it basically, I'm going to paraphrase, tells us that triggering events alone do not cause emotional response, but beliefs about the event do. So an adversity, which is the A, is a situation or an event that serves as a cause for the contemplation. B is the belief of that event. So it's going to be an internal or biased perception of the event or situation, which I'll go through in just a moment. And then C is going to be the consequences, whether those are rational or irrational emotional responses about what just happened. So some key examples of that. We all know that, or feel that, death is a horrible, tragic thing. And it is, because we've never been to the other side to know what happens afterwards. And we only know life with this person that we've lost, and can't imagine how to move forward. So of course, initially that's always going to be seen as a bad thing until you work through this process. But some other examples of applying the ABC model in your life to kind of help you get perspective of pregnancy. A pregnancy could be positive for one person and could be negative for someone else. Getting fired for one person could feel like it's the end of their life. And for someone else, it's, yay, now I get to go start my own business, or I get to go spend time with my, my kids or my wife, or go traveling. A breakup for some people is the end of the world, because I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with this person. And to someone else, a breakup is, yes, I'm finally free, because this person just didn't make me happy and just completely made my life miserable. So there's good and bad to every event that happens to us that may or may not be out of our control. But what we believe about that event is going to affect our response to that emotionally. So in the concept of death and suicide, initially it is going to be a horrible, bad thing. But as we work through this process, you can begin to put together pieces to kind of help recenter you into a different mindset that allows you to take your life back. Another thing that I want to talk about as we move through empowering your grief is something called resilience, which Alan talked about. And resilience is developed by a concept by Dr. I'm just going to leave it here for just a sec so you guys can see. So resilience is a concept researched in 2002 by Dr. Karen Vivich and Dr. Andrew Shate. And what that says is that healthy people are emotionally aware, they exhibit flexible thinking, both positive and negative, and they have realistic optimism. So what that means is there is no one way of being positive, meaning there's a lot of terms out there right now called toxic positivity or tragic optimism. And usually people bring up toxic positivity or tragic optimism when someone's saying to them, you know, try to look on the bright side of the situation, or they say, you're going to get through this, try to push past it or try to find the positive. And a lot of times people consider that to be toxic because they're not ready to change a perspective, or they need more time to sit in their feelings. And that is a good thing, that you need more time to sit in your feelings. These doctors and researchers have found that people that are actually healthy do acknowledge their negative feelings, and they can say, I'm not feeling good today. The key here is that you don't stay in that situation, and that you don't allow yourself to move backwards to where you're losing your you're losing your balance to where you now need to get back to your homeostasis. And the key is to make sure that you are doing what you can to get back that equilibrium. So you have to acknowledge your negative feelings, but you also have to say, I am feeling horrible, but today I'm going to still call my friend. I am feeling horrible, but today I'm going to make it to work. Or, you know, you can acknowledge the negative, but you still have to bring yourself back in a positive way as well. So that's something that I want you guys to keep in mind as we're talking about how to start empowering your grief. You don't have to always be 100% positive. People think I'm positive a lot, and I am, but it's because I also know I can acknowledge where I'm struggling, yet I know I'm powerful enough to overcome that struggle, even on the days I don't feel like it. I can take a break. I can take 3 days of a break. I can only do 10% positive today versus 90% on another day. So keep that in mind as well as you guys are thinking of how to find your resilience and how to find your homeostasis. There's no wrong preferences to how you choose to grieve. You don't need anyone's permission to tell you, you know, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't need someone's permission to not talk about it. If you're not ready to go into that person's room and be in their environment, you don't have to go into that person's room and be in their environment. It's like Peggy said, stand up for your needs and make sure that you're taking the time to get your mental health together. Because when we don't have our mental health together and we don't empower ourselves through the grieving process, what happens is more suicides, more shootings, more domestic violence, more molested children, more workplace tragedies. So we have to do what we can, not just because we're sad, but we have to do what we can in order to keep life moving forward for us and for the safety of the people around us. One thing I learned during my training for suicide intervention is that for every suicide, there are at least 6 other people that are going to be affected by that suicide. So that could be, you know, people in your classroom. It could be people in your workplace. It could be people that live with you. It could be your best friends and their families. It could be your pets. So you alone, you know, you're feeling your grief, but there's also other people that are coping with their grief as well. And it's very important not to isolate, which is where we're going to move into the next section. I'm trying to make sure I get it all in time. But as you give yourself permission to empower your grief, you want to move and shift into mental reprogramming. And what mental reprogramming basically is I'm going to share this for you guys too, because some of it is, I know, scientific, and you might need a little, sorry, hold on one second. I think I ruined it. Give me a moment. All right, so sharing yet? Did it come up? I'll try it again. I think you got it right there. There we go. Okay. So, sorry guys. Trying to shift in here. Okay, so as I pull up, mental reprogramming involves, here we go, cognitive restructuring. So what cognitive restructuring is also part of CBT therapy, developed by Albert Ellis. And what this talks about is how to identify negative thoughts, question negative thoughts, develop helpful thoughts, and then utilize the new thoughts. And this is used very heavily in stress management, which is usually what I focus on, because a lot of people are not comfortable talking about their feelings or sitting and being analyzed by a therapist, but people are more open about talking about the things that are stressing them. So if you can figure out what's stressing the person, you can kind of help to attack the seed or the root cause of what is actually causing the stress. So an important part of identifying negative thoughts is to overcome what we call cognitive errors. And a cognitive error is something like generalized statements or statements of fear of failure, statements of fear of success, statements about self-defeating prophecies. Like, have you ever had a friend and you're, trying to encourage them to do something that you know that they're good at, and you'll say, oh, you should really start this business, or you should really talk to this person, you'll be really great at this. And they say, well, no, I'm too big, or, I'm never going to get in shape, or, I'm just not a good person. I'm so stupid. I'm not smart enough. So when you make these kind of statements like that, what you're doing is you are allowing negative seeds into your universe. So remember, again, the concept, first law of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It is simply transferred into another form. So now, instead of us having a mindset of bringing in and releasing good energy, we are now inviting in and creating energy that is detrimental to our overall goal, right? So instead of just accepting, I'm stupid. Okay, let's take this back to what we did previously. I'm stupid, but I really want to know how to do X. So I'm going to learn how to do X. Or you can say, oh, I'm not in enough shape. I'm not in enough shape, but I can get into shape by changing my diet, or I can get into shape by changing how I'm getting rest. So what you need to do, you have to question, why are you having these negative thoughts about yourself? And is this belief true? A lot of times we think that we know the future, and we think that we know there's going to be a negative outcome, but we really don't have any proof that there's going to be a negative outcome. And we just completely block out the fact that this could be a positive outcome, that we might actually get what we want out of the situation. But we forget to define what it is that we actually want. And we let these thoughts tell us, I'm not going to get that. But what if your thought was saying, I'm going to get that? I don't have what I need right now. And I literally have to do this every day. As a single mom, there are so many things that I go through. Sometimes it really requires reaching out for help. And sometimes it really involves me having to reverse negative thoughts. And I literally do this. I'll say to myself, you know what? I don't have this today, but I'm going to work on this today to maybe get this tomorrow, or maybe get this next month. Or I can say, I don't feel like doing this today, but I can do this instead, which is still towards my goal. So I'm going to do that. And you just want to keep yourself not sitting in that negative, but you also have to bring in that homeostasis a little bit back to positive. You have to change and transfer the energy that's moving you backwards to the energy that's moving you forward, because you want to identify with the person you want to be versus the person that you feel bad about being. So keep that in mind as we continue to move through this. Keep thinking about when you feel a cognitive error coming up in your mindset that says, nope, but instead try to reverse that. Mantras for me are a really big deal. You don't have to be a spiritual person to chant mantras. You don't have to believe in God or one religion or the other. It is literally you using your own power to shift your universe into the universe that you need to see. And again, this is something I do all the time, especially during grief or when I'm really stressed out about something that was heavily disappointing. Mantras that work, that help me shift my focus, some like, I suffer no more. I can transform my life and the life of others. I am working towards the person that I wish to be. People want to help me. I am happy and grateful about X, Y, and Z. The important thing about a mantra, a good book that would help you with this is a book called Wishes Fulfilled. And it really helped me to put together that I am aspect and staying living in the present. Because if you shift too far into the past, what you do most of the time when you look at the past, you're not that happy. Most of our past, it's the negative stuff that pops up, unless it's like one or two happy memories about like a certain occasion. But usually our mind is shifting to the negative. And then in the future, you're happy because you're thinking about all the things that might come about, but then you're also afraid because what if it doesn't happen? Or what if you're never going to get there, or it's taking too long, or you don't have enough resources? So the more you can stay in the center of today and say, I am this, I have this. It doesn't even have to fully be true, but you just need to make sure you try not to use words like not when you're talking about yourself, or can't when you're talking about yourself, because there's going to be those rough days where you just don't feel like you have enough energy and you don't feel like you can move through the day. But all you can do is say, hey, I can get up today and have a glass of water, so I am grateful that my body works. There's all sorts of ways that you can create a mantra. You just have to center what it is you want in order to push past your grief. And then the more you repeat that in a hard time, the more your universe uses that energy you're creating to put you in that mind space to where suddenly you're not as sad anymore. And then once you're not as sad, you start to think about positive things that you could do with this grief. Hey, I can talk to other people about this grief. I can write a book about this grief. I can just be a really good listener with this grief. You could be like me. You can write letters to senators and push for mental health reform and mental health laws and mental health funding. There are all sorts of things that you can do to utilize that grief once you've been able to empower it and recenter your identity. So that's a really big thing. Don't be afraid to create a mantra. You don't have to be a spiritual person or believe in a deity or anything. You can, but you just don't have to. So just don't put that in the box. Keep in mind that everything in this world is temporary. It's always a cycle. We're here, we're gone. We're here, we're gone. We're here, we're gone. Our bodies are 100% energy. And the way I want you to think of this is when you set a bank transfer, you don't see the money transferring. You just know that you initiated the transfer, and then a few days later, that money shows up in another account, right? Or the money comes into your account. Or the mailing system. You order something from a company, you don't see them physically shipping it to you or shipping it to the person you ordered it for, but it shows up, right? And so that's how we have to think about our energy. You might not always see the energy and the outcome of the energy today, but a few days, a few weeks, a few months later, if you keep putting the energy out, you are initiating that transfer, and that transfer is going to come into effect. So as I wrap up, I'm just going to talk about a couple things that you can do to intervene, or just for yourself or someone who might be struggling. If you do feel that you're starting to have suicidal thoughts or just struggling, remember, empathize, not criticize, because everyone sometimes needs to vent. Sometimes they don't really want you to solve the problem. Sometimes they just need to listen. And you sometimes, if someone criticizes you, it kind of makes you feel more about how bad you feel, right? So remember to empathize, gather information instead of panic. So if someone explains to you that they're having suicidal thoughts, just try to talk to them and see how they would want to do it. Hey, are you already researching this? Where do you think you would want to do it? Have you thought about who you'd want to be around, or would you leave someone a note? Gather conversationally any information that you can get, and then you can use that to then help create a barrier and a suicide action plan. The key to suicide intervention is not necessarily that you can stop this person from hurting themselves, but you may be able to help them delay the process, because research has shown that suicide often happens within a 5-minute to 1 hour window of that seed popping into their brain. The vast majority of suicides do not happen pre-planned. So if you can help someone just to delay, maybe for an hour, maybe for tomorrow, maybe till next week, and just let them know, hey, let's go get together for lunch tomorrow, and then let's talk about this some more. Or, hey, how about you give me a call and let's check in so that we can maybe go to the movies, and then let's talk some more about what you're going through. The more you can get someone to delay the actual process of completing a suicide, the more chance you have that they can get through the actual cause of their stress. And then the suicidal thoughts in some cases can begin to change into something different. Keep the suicide hotline number in your phone. I do this. The number is 1-800-273-8255. And that's, you can Google it. The suicide hotline number will come up at the top. Keep that in your phone so that if you or someone you know finds yourself in a situation, you can call 911 if it's going to be immediate. And then you can also call this hotline and get them talking to someone while rescue help is on the way. And you can even be with them while they're on the phone, or you can call this yourself. And that way you don't have to look for the number. You don't have to like try to find it. Just have that number in your phone. And an action plan, which is the last thing I'll talk about, is basically if someone comes to you and they say, and you're getting these details about their possible wanting to complete a suicide, an action plan could be, hey, when you're feeling this emotion, these are people that you can call so that we can go do something aside from you thinking about that. Or it can be, hey, maybe you're not necessarily hungry, but your diet and nutrition often affect your brain. So instead of, going through that, why don't you get something to eat first and then see if that changes? So a suicide action plan is, hey, these are some resources or places you can go if you want to delay this for 24 hours to see if you feel better. So coming up with an action plan prior to someone trying to attempt the suicide can also kind of help them feel better, because then they don't feel like they're stigmatized and they feel like they have an actual illness or, an actual ailment that is something that could be treatable. So again, you don't want to panic, try to stay calm, and just make sure that that person feels supported. So Peggy has, I sent to her, and I think she'll have it uploaded, a resource for you guys that will be available. It's 10 ways to mentally impress yourself and fall in love with your life that I created. It's some ways that you can take, if you're having a rough day, you can promote or create an opportunity for someone that you're having a rough day, refuse to complain for 48 hours. There's different things on here, 10 things that you can do to kind of challenge yourself into feeling like you've accomplished something. So make sure that you guys check that out. Any resources that I've talked about are going to be available by email. So you can email me. I'm going to put that up here as well. You can email me if you need to. So it's madamuplift.com. It's the website that I use for stress management coaching. It's absolutely free. I don't charge anything right now. It's literally just something that I do as a volunteer for suicide prevention. India Celeste at madamuplift.com is my email. My Instagram is just at Madam Uplift. My Facebook is India Celeste, but it also says Madam Uplift as well. And again, if you want more information on any of the principles that I've talked about, or the books that I've used, or the sites that I've used for this research, anything like that, just shoot me an email and I will get that to you as soon as possible. Thank you guys so much for the time. I hope I didn't go too fast. I just wanted to try to squeeze in as much as I could.